Every single thing you do, every decision, every reaction, every relationship you've built or destroyed follows a pattern. Not your pattern, a pattern. One that was running long before you were born, refined across hundreds of thousands of years of human survival, and handed to you without a manual. You didn't choose your fears. You didn't choose what makes you feel safe, or what makes you feel threatened, or why certain people drain you, and others make you feel like yourself again. Those weren't choices. They were inherited architecture. And here is the uncomfortable part. Most people spend their entire lives being operated by that architecture without ever once examining it. They think they're making free choices. They think their personality is just who they are. They think the way they love and fight and shut down and reach out is somehow original. It isn't. But here's what changes when you actually understand it. When you can see the machinery, when you have names for the mechanisms, when you understand why you do what you do at the level it actually operates, you stop being a passenger in your own behavior. You don't become a different person. You become someone who finally understands the person they already are. This is all of human psychology in 14 minutes. Human psychology isn't one thing. It's a set of overlapping systems, each one built for a specific purpose, each one running simultaneously, most of them running below the level of conscious awareness. We're going to move through 6 of them. Not every theory, not every name. The core machinery, the parts that are operating in you right now, today, in every interaction you have. By the end of this, you won't just understand psychology, you'll understand yourself. Before we get into each system, there's a frame you need. The human brain was not designed for the world you live in. It was designed over millions of years of evolution for a world of immediate physical threat, small social groups, scarce resources, and survival measured in days, not decades. That brain is now running in a world of social media, office politics, long-term relationships, abstract threats, and information overload, and it is doing its best with hardware that was never built for this. This is not a flaw. This is context, and almost everything that confuses you about your own behavior, the anxiety that makes no sense, the reactions that feel disproportionate, the patterns you can't seem to break, makes complete sense once you understand what the brain was originally built to do. Keep that frame as we go through each system. At the center of your brain sits a structure called the amygdala. It is ancient, it is fast, and it has one job: keep you alive. The amygdala doesn't think, it reacts. Before your conscious mind has processed what's happening, the amygdala has already evaluated the situation for threat and initiated a response. Heart rate up, muscles primed, attention narrowed. This is the fight, flight, or freeze response. And it evolved for predators and physical danger. The problem is that the amygdala cannot distinguish between a lion and an email from your boss. It reads social threat, emotional pain, and uncertainty the same way it reads physical danger. Same circuitry, same response, same flood of cortisol telling your body, this is an emergency. This is why you can't think straight when you're anxious, why conflict feels life or death, even when it isn't. Why your body reacts before your brain has caught up. The survival system doesn't wait to be asked. John Bowlby, the psychiatrist who developed attachment theory, made one of the most important discoveries in the history of psychology, that the human need for connection is not optional. It is biological. as necessary as food or water. From birth, your brain was wiring itself around one question: is the person I depend on available and responsive? If yes, the world is safe enough to explore. If no, the world is a threat to manage. The answers you got in those early years became your attachment style, a template for how you experience intimacy, trust, conflict, and love in every relationship that followed. Secure attachment: I can need people and they won't leave. Anxious attachment: I have to work to keep people close. Avoidant attachment: needing people is dangerous. Better not to. You didn't choose your attachment style. It was written before you had language, but it is running in every relationship you have right now. Studies show that the neural response to having your beliefs challenged is almost identical to the response to physical attack. Your brain doesn't experience "you might be wrong" as information. It experiences it as threat. This is why people double down on incorrect positions when presented with evidence. Why feedback feels like attack. Why changing your mind feels like losing. Why admitting you were wrong costs something that feels disproportionate to what it should cost. It's not ego in the colloquial sense. It's a survival system protecting the coherence of the self. The most psychologically flexible people are not the ones with no ego. They're the ones who learn to hold their self-concept loosely, who can update the model without it feeling like annihilation. Your brain does not perceive reality accurately. It perceives a version of reality filtered through a set of predictive shortcuts, patterns built from past experience that it uses to interpret the present. Aaron Beck, the psychiatrist who founded cognitive behavioral therapy, called these cognitive distortions. Systematic errors in thinking that feel completely rational from the inside. You catastrophize, assume the worst possible outcome is the most likely one. You mind read, assume you know what others are thinking, usually something negative. You personalize, assume that things which have nothing to do with you are about you. You filter, notice the one critical comment in a room full of praise and let it define the entire experience. These aren't signs of weakness. They're byproducts of an efficient brain. A brain that would rather be wrong and fast than right and slow. Because for most of human history, slow was fatal. Humans are the most social species that has ever existed. And social belonging, for most of human history, was the difference between survival and death. Your brain knows this. Solomon Asch's conformity experiments in the 1950s showed that people would deny the evidence of their own eyes, claim a shorter line was longer simply because everyone else in the room said so. Not out of stupidity, out of an ancient, hardwired fear of social exclusion. Philip Zimbardo's Stanford prison experiment demonstrated that ordinary people would adopt the psychology of the role they'd been assigned within days. Stanley Milgram showed that ordinary people would administer what they believed to be dangerous electric shocks, simply because an authority figure told them to. The uncomfortable conclusion of social psychology is this: you are not as fixed as you think. Who you are shifts significantly depending on who is in the room, what role you've been assigned, and what the group around you is doing. Context shapes character more than most people are comfortable admitting. Here is the thing that connects every system we've just covered. None of it was taught to you. You went to school for years. You learned history, geometry, the periodic table, and not one lesson, not one, explained how your own brain works, how your attachment system was formed, why you react the way you do under threat, what cognitive distortions are, and how to recognize them in yourself. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a curriculum oversight. For most of human history, the expectation was that you would learn these things by living, by watching the adults around you, by absorbing the culture you were born into. But the adults around you were never taught either. So what got passed down wasn't wisdom. It was conditioning, pattern, unexamined behavior presented as truth. And so you arrived in adulthood with a brain running ancient survival software, an attachment style you didn't choose, an ego defending an identity you inherited, a mind full of distortions you couldn't name, shaped by groups you didn't consciously select, and no map. So let's be clear about what this means. The anxiety that feels irrational. It's a survival brain responding to social threat the same way it was built to respond to physical danger. It's not weakness. It's ancient hardware in a modern world. The way you love that keeps causing you pain. It's an attachment template written before you had words, in a relationship you had no choice about, with a person who was also running their own unexamined system. The defensiveness, the cognitive distortions, the way the room changes you. None of it is a character flaw. All of it is a system, a comprehensible, mappable, understandable system. You are not broken. You are a human being running human software. Software that was never explained to you, never handed to you with instructions, never examined by most of the people who shaped you. But you are also the only animal on this planet that can look at its own operating system and decide to update it. That can name a pattern and, in the naming of it, step outside it. That capacity is not given to you by your circumstances. It is not determined by your past. It is available to you right now, in this moment, simply because you are the kind of creature that can choose to look. You are not the architecture. You are the one examining it. Here's the one thing you can try this week. Pick one system from this video, the one that described you most accurately, the survival brain, the attachment system, the ego, the distortions, the social influence. Just one. And for the next 7 days, when you notice yourself reacting to a person, to a situation, to a thought, ask one question: which system is running right now? Not, why am I like this? That question has no useful answer. Just, which system? Name it. The survival brain spiked. The attachment wound opened. The ego felt threatened. A distortion ran. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to change it in that moment. You just have to name it. Because the moment you can name it, you are no longer inside it. You are observing it. And that distance, however small, is the beginning of everything. But knowing the systems is only half of it. Because once you can see the machinery, once you understand why you do what you do, the question becomes, what do you actually do with that understanding? How do you move through the world differently when you can see the patterns running? That's a different skill. One that has a name. One that almost nobody was taught. We cover that next.